Hello students, welcome to my channel Somalin's Bio World. Today I am going to discuss about the process of respiration. In the previous videos, I have already discussed about the process of nutrition in detail, and I have shared some possible questions and the previous year questions regarding nutrition. So go and check my channel. So today come and we will discuss about the process of respiration. So what is respiration? The process of respiration is the breakdown of organic substance, that is glucose, into carbon dioxide, water, and a large amount of energy will be released in the form of ATP. So, when one molecule of glucose, it will undergo oxidation, it will release 38 number of ATPs. And here we can write the overall process like glucose plus oxygen in presence of some respiratory enzyme, it gives carbon dioxide, water, and 38 molecules of ATPs. So this 38 molecule of ATP is a very large amount of energy that actually our body needs. So the actual aim of the respiration is to add the energy. The food that we are taking through the process of digestion, then it will go to the respiration to produce some energy. And the overall process of respiration, it actually takes place in mitochondria of cell. And there is need of some types of respiratory enzymes also needed, which will be help for the overall reaction. So here I want to tell something about what ATP. What is ATP? ATP is a type of chemical energy, and the full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Here this is ATP is a triphosphate of nucleotide adenosine, and when the energy it released through the process of respiration, then it convert into the usable form, that is ATP. So we can say ATP is the universal carrier of energy that will be needed for the cell, and we can say the ATP is the energy currency of the cell. So by use of ATP, the body can produce mechanical energy, electrical energy, and so on. So ATP is very much needed to carry out different types of metabolic activities inside our cell. So the main aim of the process of respiration is to add energy, and this energy it will used out in the body for different types of metabolic processes. So in the process of respiration, our body gets a large amount of energy. So then come to the process of respiration. The process of respiration, it actually completes in 4 steps. They are breathing, gaseous transport to tissues, tissue respiration, and cellular respiration. So first come to breathing. In breathing, our body it takes oxygen from the outside and it releases out the carbon dioxide from the body. In case of some microorganisms and the lower organisms, the oxygen it comes inside the body by the process of simple diffusion. But in case of higher organisms, the oxygen it comes to body by nose and lungs. So next come to the gaseous transport to tissues. After the oxygen is taken into the body by the process of inhalation, then it carried to different types of cells by blood, because the lungs that actually helps in the process of respiration, it carries some balloon-like structure. Those are known as alveoli. And these alveoli are surrounded by different types of blood capillaries or arteries, which when the fresh air enter into our lungs, and it will go to the alveoli, and from the alveoli the blood capillaries which contain the blood, it will acquire the oxygen from the fresh air, and it will, in exchange of, it will give the carbon dioxide back to the alveoli. So when the oxygen it mix with the blood, and the red blood cells it contain the hemoglobin, it forms the oxygen. When it get mixed with the red blood cells, it forms oxyhemoglobin. In this form, the oxygen it will go to different types of cell through arteries, and in return the different types of cell it will give back the carbon dioxide into the blood that is present inside the lungs. So the carbon dioxide it will return back to the blood in two forms. It may be in the form of bicarbonate, which is present in the plasma, and in the second it may be mixed with the hemoglobin, and it will form the carbaminohemoglobin. So by this process, the exchange of gas between the body cells and the atmosphere occurs. Then come to the third step, that is tissue respiration. In the tissue respiration, what happens? The arteries actually it terminates into capillaries, and these capillaries actually it goes to the tissues, and it delivers the oxygen to the tissues, and it will take back the carbon dioxide from the tissues, and this is the tissue respiration. Then come to the cellular respiration. In the cellular respiration, after reaching the oxygen into the cell, it will undergo different types of metabolic activities, and it will break down the glucose into carbon dioxide and water, and it will release a large amount of energy. So these were the process of respirations. By these four processes, actually the process of respiration completes. So out of the four types of steps of the process of respiration, we have to know about the cellular respiration in some detail. So the cellular respiration, it actually takes place in two types, and they are aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. And the aerobic respiration, it actually takes place in the presence of oxygen, and during the aerobic respiration, one molecule of glucose it will completely oxidized to carbon dioxide, water, and 38 molecule of ATPs. So the aerobic mode of respiration, it gives large amount of energy to our body. So next is the anaerobic respiration. And what happens in the anaerobic respiration? In anaerobic respiration, it actually takes place in the absence of oxygen. There is no need of oxygen. Some bacteria like lactobacillus, yeast, and some internal parasites like tapeworm, roundworm, they actually live without oxygen. And in those organisms, these anaerobic types of respiration, it will take place. in this anaerobic mode of respiration, what happens? Now the glucose it will convert into pyruvic acid. Then the pyruvic acid it actually convert into the ethyl alcohol via a intermediate, that is acetaldehyde. And here the process is known as fermentation, and the energy that will produce in this anaerobic mode of respiration, in the absence of oxygen, it is very much less amount of energy, which is 2 molecules of ATP. So let us write the equation of anaerobic respiration. In anaerobic mode of respiration, first the glucose it will convert into pyruvic acid, that is CH3COOH. This is pyruvic acid, this is glucose. Then after the formation of pyruvic acid, it will again undergo oxidation and it will form an intermediate, that is acetaldehyde, CH3CHO. Acetaldehyde. After formation of acetaldehyde, it will undergo breakdown and it will form ethyl alcohol. And with the release of carbon dioxide and energy. And here the energy is 2 molecules of ATP. So in the anaerobic mode of respiration, the amount of energy is very much less as compared to the mode of aerobic respiration. And this process of formation of a pyruvic acid into ethyl alcohol, it actually carried by yeast, and the process is known as fermentation. So in the fermentation process, a very less amount of energy will be released. But there is also in case of human muscle, there is also lack of some, when there is some lack of energy during the vigorous exercise, again the pyruvic acid it will converted into lactic acid, and this formation of lactic acid it will cause cramp in our muscles during the very active exercise. So let's write the equation. So here it will converted into lactic acid. With a very less amount of energy, which is 2 ATP. So when there is also lack of oxygen, the glucose it will not completely oxidized and it will form the lactic acid, and with some less amount of energy, that is 2 molecules of ATP. But when there will be a presence of large amount of oxygen, again the lactic acid it will break down into carbon dioxide and water. But after the vigorous exercise, when there will be additional intake of oxygen into our body will occur, then again the lactic acid it will convert into glucose to restore the normal state of the body, and that is known as oxygen debt. In the body, it will normalize the normal state of glucose, then it will known as oxygen depth. So if we compare the aerobic type of respiration and anaerobic mode of respiration, so there will be very less amount of energy will be released in case of anaerobic respiration. So the mechanism of respiration, it will carry out by two types of process, that will be glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So let's come to the mechanism of respiration. The mechanism of respiration, it will carry out by two types of process, that is glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So first come to the first mechanism of respiration, that is glycolysis. In the glycolysis, it is common to both aerobic and anaerobic mode of respiration, and in this process the glucose, it converts into pyruvic acid, and this process occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. It is also known as EMP pathway because it was discovered by three persons. They are Emden, Merhoff and Parnach. In this process, when the glucose converted into pyruvic acid, which is again to break down into ethyl alcohol in plants and lactic acid in animals. And in this process of glucose breakdown, the formation of energy also occur, and this is only 2 molecules of ATP. When the glucose converted into pyruvic acid, it will give us 2 molecules of ATPs, and this is very less amount of energy for the carry out of the different types of metabolic activities. So our body needs more the aerobic mode of respiration, so because it gives a large amount of energy which can carry out all the metabolic activities of our body. So next come to the Krebs cycle. In the Krebs cycle, the Krebs cycle, this is the aerobic mode of respiration, and this is also known as citric acid cycle. The aerobic mode of respiration, after following the glycolysis process, it undergoes the Krebs cycle. And in the Krebs cycle, the glucose, it converts into pyruvic acid, and then it will convert into the carbon dioxide and water and large amount of energy, that is 38 ATPs. So the complete oxidation of glucose occurs in the process of Krebs cycle, and in the Krebs cycle there will be formation of 38 ATPs. So the three steps of the three pathway of glucose breakdown, we can say one is in the presence of oxygen, another one is in the lack of oxygen, and another one is in the absence of oxygen. So we can write the equation, that is glucose, it gives rise to pyruvic acid. Again it will follow three paths, that is in presence of oxygen, in lack of oxygen and in absence of oxygen. So, and in presence of oxygen, it will give rise to the pyruvic acid. It will give rise to carbon dioxide, water, and energy, that is 38 ATP. And in lack of oxygen, which is very negligible amount of oxygen, the pyruvic acid, it will give rise to lactic acid with release of very less amount of energy, is 2 molecules of ATP. And in the absence of oxygen, that is the anaerobic mode of respiration, which occurs in yeast, the pyruvic acid, it will convert into ethyl alcohol plus carbon dioxide plus energy, which is also 2 ATP. So there is actually 3 pathways of glucose breakdown, and in the presence of oxygen, it occurs in the organisms, and in the lack of oxygen, it actually carry out in the muscle cells, and in the absence of glucose breakdown, it occurs in the yeast. So these were the 2 types of mechanisms of respiration. So after knowing all these things about the mechanism of respiration, then come to the exchange of gases in plant. The plant is a living thing, so it needs some water, mineral, and also gases for its survival. And these gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide, it will enter and achieve out of the plant body through the process of diffusion. And there are some structures present, which are root hair in the root, stomata in the leaves, and lenticles on the stem. And these 3 structures help in the exchange of gases in case of plant. And in the diffusion process, the molecules of solute, it move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. In case of plant, the plant, it releases carbon dioxide during the night time, and it takes the carbon dioxide during daytime for the process of photosynthesis. So first come to the root hair. The root hairs are actually like these structures. These are the epidermal cells. This is the root hair, and there are some air spaces present inside the soil. The root of the plant, it actually fixed in the soil, and there are some minute spaces present inside the cell, and these spaces are actually contain the oxygen, and this oxygen, it will carry by the root hair by the process of diffusion, and after it take oxygen, it will send it to the epidermal cells, and again the epidermal cells, it will return back the carbon dioxide through the root hair to the soil. So if we see some old roots, there will be no root hairs present, and in that case some lenticles which is present, which helps in the process of exchange of gases. So then come to the stomata in leaves. As there are the stomata is present, and there is a stomatal pore present, which actually helps in the exchange of gases on leaves. And these stomata, it is guarded by two wing-shaped guard cells. So when the carbon dioxide becomes its concentration become increase in the leaves, the stomata it will opens and release the excess amount of carbon dioxide to the air. So in case of leaves, the stomata is the structure which helps in the exchange of gases. So next come to the lenticles on the stem. The lenticles are actually the lens-shaped pores present on the stem of a plant. If we see some herbs, they have green and tender stem, and in those cases, the green tender stems they actually contain some stomata which carry out the exchange of gases. But in case of the woody plants, on the woody plants, their stem is covered by bark, and on the bark there are some lenticles present, and these lenticles helps in the exchange of gases with the atmosphere. Then come to the exchange of gases in case of animals. In terrestrial animals, they take the oxygen directly from the atmosphere, but in case of aquatic animals, they take the dissolved oxygen present in the water. And the amount of oxygen present in the water is very much less as compared to the atmosphere. So the rate of respiration or breathing is very much fast in case of aquatic animals. And there are four types of structure present for the exchange of gases in animals, and they are cell membrane, skin, air tube, and gill. If we see the cell membrane, it is actually present in case of some unicellular organisms like amoeba, paramecium, and eugenia. And as they are present in the water it contains the dissolved oxygen. When the water enters into the body through the process of diffusion, and here the cell membrane it works as the respiratory surface. After entering the water into the body with oxygen, it will used off in the body, and after its use it will release the carbon dioxide, and in the same process, by the process of diffusion, it will come out of the body through the cell membrane. And in some multicellular organisms like hydra, sponges, and tapeworm, and they lack a particular organ for the process of respiration. So they also use the process of diffusion for the exchange of gases, and they use their cell membrane or body wall for the exchange of gases. Then come to the skin. In case of earthworm and leeches, they help their skin for the exchange of gases, and their skins are richly supplied with blood capillaries. When the oxygen it comes in contact with the skin, and then it goes to the hemoglobin, and it will carry out to different types of cell, and again it will used up by cells, and it will return back the carbon dioxide to the skin, and it will again diffuse out to the atmosphere. Although the frog is an amphibian, still it exchanges gases through the respiration when it is present inside the water. Then come to air tube. The organ for the insects for the exchange of gases is air tube, which is known as trachea, and this type of respiration is known as tracheal respiration. And the trachea, they are actually their openings are known as the spiracles, and the spiracles are present on each side of the body. When the oxygen it enters through the spiracle, then it goes to the trachea, and from the trachea it goes to different cells of the body and mix with the hemoglobin. Then from the cells it will come back in the form of carbon dioxide, and again it will come out through the spiracles of the air tube to the atmosphere. Then come the gills, and the aquatic animals like prawn and fishes, they use their gills for the process of exchange of gases, and these gills are supplied with blood capillaries. So when the water enters into the body, it first go to the gill, and where it mixes with the hemoglobin, and it will take to different cells of the body, and after the use it will again come back in the form of carbon dioxide to the gill, and after gill it will release the carbon dioxide to the water. So these were the organs or the parts which helps in the exchange of gases in case of animals. So in the next class we will discuss about the respiration through lungs, and in that part it will come the respiration in human, which is the important part of the respiration. So thank you for today. And another thing, go and check to my channel. There are some possible questions and previous year questions regarding the process of nutrition. So thank you.